Hi, this is Chatterboxing. My name's Sean, and I wanted to make this video about the end of year awards for 2016. Pretty much every man and his dog has done it, so I thought I'd do it myself. Well, it's actually the 1st of January, so I'm doing this to start the new year. To make it a bit more interesting, rather than me just talking about it, I've got Sean with me again to go through it together. So we're going to give our opinion on various categories that we've come up with. So, Sean, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Surprisingly less hungover than I thought I'd be today. So
Yeah.
definitely more in the mood for this video than I had first anticipated. Very up for chatting about the various things that have happened in 2016. Certainly very exciting for boxing.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously prior to this call now, we've come up with some pretty good things to talk about. So I think especially for the boxing public. I think we've got some good things to debate on,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
looking forward to go through looking into to going into them a bit further.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's get started then. First of all, biggest mismatch. What was the biggest mismatch of 2016 for you?
Now I think biggest mismatch. I think well, I wouldn't say it's debatable. I think you can pretty much say that Canelo Khan was 100% the biggest mismatch. Everyone knew that Khan was going to get hit on the chin at some point. He was going to go down, and we all know that Khan's got a glass chin. But I also think that Triple G versus Brook, despite Brook being a
Sounds.
great fighter, I think it's also it's almost a second contender. Um,
Yeah,
that,
I think.
sorry, go on.
I mean, they were both Yeah, they were both mismatches, weren't they? I think nobody really thought that Kell Brook stood a chance against Triple G, but at least he was unbeaten. At least we hadn't seen him. We hadn't seen his limitations. With Amir Khan, we'd seen him get knocked out a couple of times. We've seen him get knocked over by like British level lightweights. We've seen him get wobbled by Chris Algieri. We knew there was no way Amir Khan was going to be able to take Canelo's punches. And it was just because it was the first one as well. It was just a real, yeah, a real grimy move by Golden Boy because they actually sought out Amir Khan, didn't they? It wasn't like the Golovkin Brook one where it all kind of came together through circumstance. That was literally their first choice when they could have really fought anyone.
Yeah,
So, and like, although Kell Brook obviously had no chance, we at least hadn't seen him get knocked out before. So the Canelo Khan was just a ridiculous mismatch. And it was Canelo. I remember at the end of it, he knocked Amir Khan out, and then he looked guilty, didn't he? He sort of went over to him. He's like, "Fucking hell!" Like as if you'd sparring with a 15-year-old and you just sort of knocked him out, and you're like, "Fucking hell, that was a bit much." You could tell he knew it was a complete mismatch.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Like, I think it's more of the fact that he felt how hard his punch connected on Khan's chin, and you could tell the way
Yeah.
Khan flopped afterwards. I mean, I know Khan went down. He's been down and he's been knocked out a few times prior to that, but
Well,
it was a really big punch, wasn't it? It was a really big punch, and essentially, like, I'm a fan of Amir Khan, but I just think that he's lost his composure too many times, and someone that like he certainly rates himself very highly. I don't think if you're operating at that level of the game, losing your composure and getting hit on the chin like that, it's just not good enough, to be quite honest. I don't think you've got
uh,
really a right to think that you're that elite when you're getting hit like that.
Well, thank God it was on he was in a boxing ring with that canvas because he was unconscious before he hit the floor. So if someone hit him like that was on the street, he probably would have killed himself. But probably would could have killed himself. No, 'cause he hit his head, boom, head first on the unconscious, boom. On luckily it was on a soft canvas because it was a really heavy fall.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that we knew what was going to happen and it happened. So right, let's move on then. What was the best fight of 2016 for you? There are quite a few choices here, obviously.
I, I had two that I previously thought earlier. Obviously, White Chisora that just came up. I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, how neither of them come out with any serious injury out of that fight, cannot even believe it. and I got the chance to watch it for a second time on Christmas Day. Funnily enough, I walked into the front room of one of my relatives' house, and they were watching the fight. And I said, "Oh my God, like, did you not see this fight?" And they said no. And all of them were on the edge of the sofa watching it, and it
Yeah, it was
really was a rumble, wasn't it? It was a
one of the
biggest dust ups I've
yeah,
ever seen.
one of the best like heavyweight fights I've seen for a long, long time.
Yeah,
And I love heavyweights anyway. For me, that's my favourite. When there's that much action in a heavyweight fight, and also the needle between the two of them, because they didn't like each other. They're from different parts of London. One's from north, the other's from south. They've got a bit of history together. They're similar kind of characters. They're both kind of, you know, got a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a thug. Do you know what I mean? So I thought it was always going to be good, and it didn't disappoint.
it didn't.
Other honourable mentions. Do you see Salido Vargas?
Vargas versus who? Sorry,
Orlando Salido.
I didn't see it. No, actually, can't say I did.
Um, Santa Cruz Frampton. I'd put up there.
That was a good
Um,
fight. I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't put it anywhere close to the best fight though. I wouldn't rate it as highly as the Dillian White Chisora,
no,
or like
no
I said
way.
or like I said earlier, the Jamie Condon versus Anthony Nelson was an absolute war. Like, I know it
Yeah,
wasn't. I know they're not so as distinguished name wise as the other fighters we've mentioned, but that was one of the
yeah,
best fights I've ever seen ever. And a lot of my boxing friends I know, we've discussed it a few times how much of a proper dust up that really was. Like, it was really really entertaining fight to watch. I'm not sure if you saw that one, but
didn't actually no. Thurman Porter was a good one as well.
that was a highly discussed fight in
Could have
terms
gone
of
either way, really, couldn't it?
it really could have. Like, I mean, I actually thought Porter won the fight, but
Yeah,
I can see why the judges would have given it to Furman. I don't know.
yeah, he landed better punches, I think.
Yeah, I get that part. I mean, boxing can often be you can highly discuss um, what you think to be what you
Yeah,
think is obviously the
your
you know
criteria.
yeah what your criteria is exactly like that makes a fighter basically win a fight. But
Yeah,
yeah, I thought that was a great fight anyway, Thurman Porter.
I would. Yeah, me too. I'd go for Chisora White personally. For me, the best fight of the year.
Yeah,
And everything, the action, obviously the dislike between them, all the antics in the build-up, like Chisora lobbing a table at him,
table throwing,
uh,
yeah.
shot they had in the face-off. So yeah, I mean, you'd think it was getting a bit nasty, wouldn't it? Like the build-up. So you'd think hopefully now, like they'd be a bit more respectful to each other, and they wouldn't really need to be like sort of kicking off every time they see each other.
Yeah, well,
But
I mean, like obviously you can see Chisora White 2 coming up. It's got to happen in
yeah,
2017, hasn't it? Really, I mean,
yeah,
for Chisora, it's pretty much the only fight out there for him in terms of earning money.
yeah,
White does have other options now. Now that he's
yeah.
won that fight, he's got some other stuff, hasn't he? But
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he wants to move onwards and upwards, really, doesn't he? He wants to fight for Main Stavern to then, yeah, we become mandatory for Deontay Wilder if he wins that. So I think that's the direction that he wants to go in. I
and
can't see him really wanting. It makes a lot more sense for him, doesn't it?
progression-wise, it does certainly. I mean, what's your opinion on him fighting Stavern? Where do you think he
That,
stands?
yeah, that's good. I mean, it's an interesting one, really. I mean, Stavern he's all right, isn't he? I mean, he's not great. I mean, I'd say they both fought like one, like what you could say like top level opponent, and they both lost.
Yeah,
Um, Wilder, Stavern, and obviously Anthony Joshua for Dylan White. I mean, he beat Chris. What's his name? I can't remember his name now. Wasn't it the Mexican Chris Arreola?
Gabriella. Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Arreola's okay. I mean, he's no world beater, is he? Especially when he beat him. I mean, he's been around for a while. It's a sort of half decent win, but it's probably on a level really with Chisora. I would say. I'd say Chisora's better, but he beat Ariola obviously more convincingly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty good fight. I mean, people massively overrate Stavern, in my opinion. Talk about him
Agreed.
as if he's some kind of top level heavyweight. I mean, I haven't really seen any evidence of that myself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I personally think that White actually would nick it off Stavern. If it's
Yeah,
the only issue is it over in America? Is it over here? I mean, the boxing platform over in the UK at the moment is very attractive to fighters all around the world. So
yeah.
I can see in the future in 2017-18, I can actually see a lot more American fighters actually coming over here to fight. Uh,
Yeah,
Purely because the boxing scene is far better here than it is over in America, and obviously,
especially for heavyweights. I mean, it kind of depends on the weight, doesn't it? For I'd say, obviously you got your welterweights and your junior middleweights over there. Apart from that, I suppose like the light heavyweight. But if you're a heavyweight, then definitely like the UK is the place to be.
yeah, no, certainly, no, I
Oh,
definitely agree with that.
all right, let's move on into best fighter. Who have you got for this?
So I think we're possibly both going to agree on this one. I think Carl Frampton, you can't really deny what he's done. Well, in the previous year, I was about to say this year, but
Yeah,
we are in our first day of our new year. So happy New Year to everyone listening.
yeah.
I don't think we can really argue against the fact that Carl Frampton sat there and done it. He convincingly beat Quigg, and then he went and I think he done a really good job on Santa Cruz. And bar that, who's had a more successful year than him? Can you
Yeah, I
think of
mean,
anyone?
no, not really. I mean, you've had a couple of good performances from people like Lomachenko springs out, but nothing like that. Not like two fights on the road. First time he travelled to England, unified titles. Then went to America. First fight at a new weight, going up in weight to take on an undefeated champion. Beat him in his own country. With no tune-ups, no like getting used to the weight, just straight in there, deep end, boom, job done.
Yeah,
So yeah, I can't think of anyone who's achieved more than he has this year.
yeah, fair point. Definitely fair point. But yeah, for me, I'm just a massive Frampton fan. I'm gonna definitely
Who do you
sit
want
on
to see
that
him
point.
fight this year?
Frampton, well, it's I can't really say who do I
Oh,
want to see him fight because you know who he's going to fight. He's obviously got the rematch clause with Santa Cruz,
okay,
hasn't
yeah.
he?
I mean, apart from that,
Well,
in that division,
there's a load of chit chat that he's gonna be fighting Rigondeaux, isn't there? But
I'd like to see that.
I'd love to see
Yeah,
that. But I don't know whether that his team would necessarily risk that fight because just about
yeah.
everyone is scared of their life of fighting him. From what I can
I
see
think the
from the
thing
outside.
is, the thing with like Rigondeaux is basically clearly people don't want to like work with him. Like I think what it seems to me that he's just kind of expects everyone else, or his team expects everyone else to do all the work. He thinks they're just going to say, "Oh, Rigondeaux, here's £4 million, come and fight us." Now that's obviously not going to happen, is it? I mean, he's obviously a tough fight, and he doesn't really bring that much to the table apart from a load of a tough fight.
Yeah,
So obviously his name to hardcore boxing fans. What I would really like to see is Rock Nation say, "All right, we'll pay you. We'll put the show on, and here I like Carl Frampton. Here's some money, and we're going to organise this show, and we're actually going to make an offer ourselves, rather than just what it seems to me that Rigondeaux has basically taken a load of money from Rock Nation, and now he's basically happy to sit there and fight the likes of Jazza Dickens and these other characters.
yeah,
If he can get a fight with one of these big sort of superstars with a big fan base, superstars with big names, do you know what I mean? Then he'll do it. But he's not really, from what I can see, prepared to put the work in between it. You see what Luis Ortiz is doing now. He was in a sort of position where, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, they're not just going to say, yeah, voluntary defence against Luis Ortiz. Why would they? It's a tough fight. He's not really bringing that much to the table. So he's gone now, signed with Eddie Hearn. He's keeping himself active. He's trying to sort of get himself into that position, and he's putting the work in. Do you know what I mean? That's what he should be doing.
yeah,
Golovkin, another one. he couldn't get the top people to fight him. So what did he do? He didn't sort of sing around feeling sorry for himself on Twitter. He went and started fighting. Okay, if I can't get Sergio Martinez and Felix Sturm, well, I'll fight Matthew Macklin, Daniel Geale, these kind of characters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeping your name, keeping yourself busy. So I kind of find that the whole Rigondeaux thing slightly irritating, to be honest. I find um, people just seem to think he's some kind of martyr. And I don't know. I don't really see it myself. I see that. I think, yeah, a couple of people have obviously Frampton ducked him. He gave up his belt to go and fight Santa Cruz. But I mean, he went up in weight to fight another person in another country who that person was the favourite. So it's not. I mean, personally, I think you can forgive him for that. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he sort of did a Canelo and went down in weight to fight someone easier for less money. He went up to fight someone hard for a load more money. So what I would like to see from them is to actually make an offer themselves rather than just sort of waiting around for everyone else to do everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm deluded. Maybe I don't. But that's what it seems like to me. You know, people aren't just going to do this for you. You make the offer. Why can't Rock Nation make an actual offer? I haven't heard of them ever making one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the fans don't necessarily get what they want in boxing, and in an ideal world, yeah, what you're saying would be fantastic. But yeah, you're right. I think we're gonna have to see what unfolds in 2017. We're gonna have to see.
I would love.
I
would
was
love
going
to
to
see
put
that.
in. We're going to have to see actually what happens in the rematch between Frampton and Santa Cruz for a start. If Frampton
Yeah.
comes through that, I would love to. I'm really interested to see where he goes from there. Even if he lost the fight, I think there's loads there for Frampton anyway.
I really hope
But
he doesn't, because if he does, then I can see him getting sort of bogged down in a sort of trilogy. I mean, I don't mind like if that happens like much later on, but I mean, he had to honour the rematch. I'm glad that he is doing it, but still, you want to see people move on fighting different people, don't you?
yeah,
I do anyway. I don't want to see the same fight over and over again. So what I would really like to see is Rigondeaux fight, but I think it's going to have to be a case of Rock Nation, you know, putting the money in their pocket and actually trying to make something happen themselves. Hopefully, that will happen, but I can't see it because I can't see Al Heyman and people like that just thinking, oh, let's just kind of, you know, we really want to work with these people and we really want to give them loads of money when we can, you know, fight Lee Selby or, you know, Oscar Valdez or whoever else. So many options on the table for him.
yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on now to biggest disappointment.
um,
Interesting.
I think we're both going to agree on this one. I mean, the biggest disappointment for me certainly is Tyson Fury, purely because he was the man
Yeah.
that beat the man of boxing. He beat Klitschko, and he did it in my eyes very convincingly, and in everyone's eyes very convincingly. He outboxed him. I saw it as a fantastic chess match. I personally said to a few of my friends beforehand, can't really see how Fury's going to do it, but he went and did it. I did give him a puncher's chance, but I did think that Klitschko's just got too much background in him. He's got too much experience. I thought that was just going to outweigh Fury's height and kind of boxing ability. Thankfully, I was proved wrong, but this whole cocaine scandal, possible PED scandal, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
It's all a bit weird, that stuff.
yeah, I don't believe the PED bit. I don't believe the cocaine bit. I can see.
Yeah, I believe that.
I believe he's got on a few beers and yeah, he's
Yeah.
possibly dabbled
I
here
mean,
and there. But
yeah, I don't see like people talking as if he's, you know, got like an addiction. I doubt that. I think, you know, we know how it is. He's quite likely he's gone out, had a few pints, you know, a few lines here and there, but I doubt he's literally there like every day, like on the sniff. Do you know what I mean? I doubt it personally.
yeah,
I think it's more likely he goes out, has a few drinks, dabbles in that from time to time, or at least he has done. So hopefully that's behind him now.
absolutely. And I also think to be, if I'm quite honest, and I this is obviously very open to speculation, but I think the whole depression thing, etc., etc., was possibly used just to disguise this whole scandal, the fact that he's obviously been tested positive for cocaine. unfortunately.
Could be.
I really don't know either way. He also blew up. You could see like blew up in weight prior to the Klitschko fight. When you saw him in the ring, he looked the best he's ever looked, didn't he? And I think he possibly just was not in the shape that he needed to be to actually fight him, so that he had to pull
I
out.
just think I think like he doesn't really enjoy the training and that lifestyle, the discipline. I think he likes eating, likes drinking. Probably doesn't want to go to bed at 10 o'clock every day and get up at like 5 in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think he did all that, and he fought Klitschko, and then the reaction when he came back, I think he just thought to himself like, now why do I bother? I've done all this, and people are not even really giving me any respect. So what's the point of me really doing this? What was the point of me doing something that I can't really be asked to do if I'm still going to get, mugged off anyway? That's what I think. I mean, it's not a one-dimensional issue, but I think that's the main problem at that time. That's my speculation. But it is a real disappointment because I did want to see him then go on and consolidate himself. Because even though he was the number one heavyweight in the world by winning, he hadn't established himself as a dominant champion, had he? So when Klitschko was a champion, he'd beaten everyone, and he was clearly the number one. So he'd beaten anyone out there you could think of. There's no one you could like. Deontay Wilder had a belt, but nobody thought that Deontay Wilder was a heavyweight champion. Everybody knew it was Klitschko.
yeah.
So Fury beat him, and yeah, he was the champion. But at the same time, it wasn't the same. It wasn't like he would have needed to have beaten Wilder, Joshua, a couple of these other people, to really establish himself, and that's what I really want to see him do, and hopefully he still can do. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think there's obviously some, you've got like the people I've mentioned, Wilder and Joshua. I think Victor Luis Ortiz is good, but I think stylistically it'd be quite an easy fight for Fury, to be honest. I think the most difficult one for him would probably be Wilder, possibly Joshua, but I think like stylistically Wilder could be quite difficult for him. I think Joshua would beat Wilder, but I think Fury would have a better chance of beating. I think he could beat. I mean, they can all beat each other. I'd still probably pick, depending on what he looks like, Fury the favourite in all of those fights. But I think that
If he's to
Wilder,
turn up, if he's to
yeah,
turn
if he
up,
turns up, if he's on top form, if he is at his best. But I think Wilder would be a difficult fight for him. Well, I mean, the most dangerous. Would you reckon?
yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, like you, I'm sure you've heard the interview with Tyson Fury like a few years ago. He talked about Joshua beating 7 shades out of him, didn't he? And in
Yeah,
training,
inspiring.
and I can see Joshua. Obviously, Joshua's a very confident character. I can see him bringing that into the fight and just sitting there thinking, if I lay it on this geezer, which is not what Vladimir Klitschko did. Klitschko tried to play a chess match and lost. I can see
Yeah.
Joshua just going in and throwing haymakers, and I could see him blowing Fury up. But depends what Fury
Possible.
turns up. If Fury turned up and actually like moved the way he did against Klitschko, yeah,
Yeah.
he could do a number on Joshua,
And
because Joshua's
he-
he's got so many flaws still that
with
are quite.
Fury as well, he's very good inside fighter. So that what I think he could do, he could sort of try and keep it long. But then if he does need to fight on the inside with Joshua, I think he could do that pretty well. I think Joshua is obviously such a hard puncher, and he's good fast combinations as well. There's definitely a chance he could just take Fury out at any point in the fight. But failing that, I think Fury could, I wouldn't say dominate, but quite comfortably beat him if he managed to. Because he's very slick, Fury. I mean, he's very difficult to hit. He's got, first of all, he can sort of just lean back a bit like Vitaly Klitschko style and just sort of keep you at range. And it's very difficult to get to land a good punch on him.
Yeah.
He's also got very good like upper body movement. He can change, he can switch southpaw if he's not going his way. And he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. So, I really would like to see him. It's such a shame that he didn't push on. So we'll see what happens, I suppose, for next year. But yeah, definitely that was the biggest disappointment for me. Well, for everyone in British boxing. And also heavyweight boxing fans, I think, as well.
Yeah, it certainly was a bit gutting. I'm going to move on. I did tell you, obviously, I've got to go out in about 45 minutes or so. It seems like your Skype call's cutting out in a minute though. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I will move it on. I know we've got a few topics
All
to
right.
discuss. So in terms of biggest robbery, what was your biggest robbery of
Well,
2016?
it's got to be Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward.
Yeah,
And I mean, I made a video about it at the time,
watched it. Yeah,
and I was kind of a bit because at the time I'd just seen that and I thought, fair play to Andre Ward for coming back into it how he did, because you can't take that away from him, despite the decision, despite like what's been like what he's sort of said since then. At the time, and even it's still true, he did come back quite well and managed to hold his own against pretty much. He was just getting beaten up really for the first half and like just sort of bullied around the ring. Then he got back into it and he was outboxed, but he still made it quite competitive. But I think that is why, well, unless it's just blatant corruption, you've got 3 American judges in America, Olympic gold medalist, against a Russian, when there's all this stuff going on in the world with the sort of geopolitics, do you know what I mean? So that's one option. But another thing, if I was being a bit less cynical and more generous, I
mm.
could say that people were giving Andre Ward rounds for doing better than he did previously. So he was effectively competing against himself. Do you know what I mean? Because he
Yeah.
started off so badly, and then he started to make it quite competitive. So for that, they were basically just giving him all these, like, yeah, okay, you've done much better there, Andre. Here's another round, mate. I
That's
mean,
that's for me. That's the only like point that makes sense of why he was actually getting the rounds that he was getting, and that analysis I think is actually very good. But for me, the person that was hitting the more convincing shots was Kovalev for a start in
yeah,
pretty much every round. Ward was hitting to the body a little bit, and he was just doing point scoring punches, wasn't he? But one, he
yeah,
got knocked down.
jabs.
Like one, he got knocked down. Secondly, like he he did not win more than 4 to 5 rounds of that fight.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
say 4. I mean, if you were feeling really generous, you could maybe give him 5.
yeah, exactly. And
I mean,
that's what pisses me off most about that robbery. And I did watch your video. I totally agree with what you said, and I was actually I was genuinely really pissed off that Kovalev got robbed
yeah,
of that fight. And you watched, he was actually really cool in interviews afterwards. I've got a lot of respect for him. He said, I didn't lose the fight, but I'm ready to go again. There's a rematch clause, I
yeah.
believe. So next time, like you said, I'm obviously going to have to go and knock him out next time, and I think that I think he possibly will. Maybe he won't. Ward's very slick, and Ward's never been knocked out. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of there's a lot to argue that won't happen. But yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it seems like that's another thing that I don't really like about boxing. Um, the sort of fans, because I mean, I don't know if you go on my like, sort of forums much. I
I
remember
don't.
on a Facebook group, someone put up a thing which to me kind of summed it up. He was saying, "Oh, if Kovalev had won, like Ward fans would have done this. If Ward wins, Kovalev that's the problem. When you're talking about like people are like fans of this fighter, there's no objectivity there.
Yeah,
You've basically got people who going into it want somebody to win. So you're really having to you have to be wearing like Andre Ward goggles to give him that fight. You have to be thinking, I want him to win before, so you can sort of think, oh yeah. To be fair, he landed a couple of jabs to the body there, and he sort of dodged a couple of punches, and he gave him a couple of uppercuts to the belt, give him that round. Do you know what I mean? And yet, you've got all these people who are across the board in boxing, who are just going into it. Obviously, that's fine. You've got people who want somebody to win, but then you've got to really leave that at the door, haven't you, when it comes to analysing who's won a fight.
yeah. I mean, that fight, I was completely neutral. I didn't care who won, personally.
No, no.
I, I, I just wanted the better fighter to win the fight, and
Mm.
I felt that the better fighter lost the fight, and
Yeah,
I was gutted for Kovalev. But like he said, he's not taking that -1 on his record seriously,
no,
and I'm not either personally.
not me neither. he clearly won the fight for me. Well, I hope so they make the rematch. Let's move on then, 'cause I know you've got to go out, haven't you?
Yeah, I've
I'll,
got 20 minutes. I've got 20 minutes. So
all right, let's knockout of the year for me. Standout knockout has to be Deontay Wilder against Spilka. I mean, he was doing very well in that fight, Spilka, and then suddenly out of nowhere, boom, like right hand. I thought he killed him at first. I mean, he was unconscious for I don't know how many minutes. But they come in, they put like a kind of neck brace on him, and then he was down there for they carried him out of the ring in a stretcher. And what I mean, you say what you want about Deontay Wilder, but he is devastating.
he can throw a bomb. Yeah, I mean, bar Anthony Joshua, definitely like those two are obviously the hardest hitters in the heavyweight division. Obviously, a lot of people think that David Hayes got a nice bit of snap. No one could argue against that.
Klitschko, possibly.
Do you think Klitschko hits as hard as Wilder or Joshua though? Personally,
I think Wilder, because the reason he just really, you know what I mean. If you're going to try and hit someone, and you're just like quite measured, and and you throw your right hand as well. But if you're literally like trying to take your head off, isn't he? That's why he's always breaking his hands. So he's really putting his heart and soul into the punches. So I think that Klitschko, if you look at the amount of people he's knocked out, decent opponents as well, one punch knockouts. I think Klitschko, I mean, he's more proven as a big puncher. But Wilder, he just sort of throws bombs. And like, even when you see like against Chris Arreola, he's like, he falls on one knee, he starts swinging like mad, like punches, ends up busting his hands up.
Yeah.
But he's very, very hard. And those kind of knockouts, I mean, Spilka, I think he's coming back, he's fighting Dominic Brazil, but I don't know what kind of effect that will have on you, being sparked out like that, because that was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really. There's been quite a few decent KOs this year, and as I said to you earlier, I mean, I can't really have an opinion on what I think's the best one.
Maybe Canelo Khan, but I don't really want to give him any credit for that because it's just out of order, really, isn't it?
It is.
To be fair, you could say the same thing about Wilder. Not so much maybe Spilka's a half decent opponent, but Wilder as well, just beating up a load of overmatched opponents. So I suppose it's not really that different to Canelo Khan. But all right, but anyway, let's move on to Duck of the Year.
Duck of the Year. Well, I've got two that I really want to talk about. Obviously, Canelo ducking Triple G is definitely one worth discussion. And then secondly, another fighter ducking Triple G would be Chris Eubank Jr., who famously just couldn't find his pen. So I'll allow you to elaborate further, and I'll come back at you with what I think on both topics.
All right, well, I'll talk about the Canelo GGG then, and I'll let you tell me about the Eubank situation. The Canelo Triple G for me was the most ridiculous, because it's one thing if you give up your belt, but you go on to take on a challenge for more money, or you go up in weight because you're not comfortable there. You can understand that. There's some justification for that. But what he did is he went down in weight to somewhere where he was less comfortable. He had to kill himself to make that weight. To fight an opponent that nobody had heard of, for much less money. I know they had a big crowd there at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Apparently, the tickets were really, really cheap. They were giving them away. I mean, I speak Spanish, so I listen to quite a lot of Mexican fans talking about this, and his popularity has really gone down there. They don't like that at all, because when he got him into the ring, you hear that, he goes, I'll put the gloves on right now. And he did that twice. And just this kind of big talk, and then not backing it up. When you've got this reputation, and he made such a big thing about him and Oscar De La Hoya, about like Pacquiao and Mayweather like making us wait, and like Mayweather's not giving the fans the fights they want to see, and it's all about money, and then to go around and do exactly the same thing.
Bit of a piss take.
For me, yeah, that was really, and then to try to and the way they've gone about it since, like him talking about who's Golovkin fought. I mean, what, mate? I mean, if there's anyone in the world who can't say that, it's you. it's absolutely absurd for Canelo to be trying to question who has Golovkin fought when he's given up his belt to avoid a fight with the bloke. I mean, you're in no position to criticise who he's fought, mate, at all. So the whole thing around that, for me, was, yeah, definitely that's the biggest one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you just look at the rationality behind it, I think Golden Boy are just more concerned of milking as much money as they can out of Canelo first
Yeah,
before this super fight happens. I mean, it's inevitable. Um, they will meet at some point, but as soon as Canelo has a loss, then he's worth less. Um, and this is why I can't wait for him to possibly fight Billy Joe Saunders, because it's such a dangerous fight for him, and I don't know, I just don't even know whether that's going to happen either. I know we spoke last time in our previous video
yeah.
about that fight happening, but the more and more I think about it, they're far too clever. Like, they cherry pick all their opponents for Canelo.
And then trying to make it like 155 pounds. I mean, that was that really got up my nose as well. And now he's saying he wants to fight Chavez Jr. at 165
Yeah,
pounds.
ridiculous.
I mean, what's going on? It's
Yeah.
just, do you know what I mean? It's just one thing after another with it. What about the Eubank Jr. then? What do you think about that one?
I truly believe that that was just a marketing ploy by the Eubank team. Eubank Senior,
Yeah,
I mean, on his own, does enough to promote his son by just purely talking bollocks and essentially
yeah,
just being very unlikable. And that's what he made his career on, being unlikable and then winning
yeah,
certain people over, and then other people that just continued to hate him just enjoyed watching him fight because he was an
yeah,
entertainer, and he still is now. And his son's exactly the same thing, but like Eddie Hearn said in a couple of interviews, I mean, um, Eubank Jr. hasn't been in part of any of the negotiations thus far, and his dad's essentially um, caused him to lose a few million quid. Which, to be
yeah,
fair, I think if he was sitting there in there and Eddie Hearn said to him, "We'll give you 3 million for this fight," I don't think he'd give a crap whether he won or lost, because for 3 million quid. I mean, I know I think Eubank Jr. is a very proud person, but if someone said to me, "Do you want to fight Gennady Golovkin, get £3 million and get all this exposure?" then of course you'd take it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? But
Well,
you
yes,
got you,
especially if you've never really fought beyond British level. I mean, you fought Billy Joe Saunders. That was for the British title, wasn't it? 'Cause Billy Joe Saunders wasn't
was for,
really technically at world level then, was he?
no, it was British and European and Commonwealth, I believe. So yeah, three kind of, I wouldn't say average belts. I wouldn't like to say that because they're not, but they're
No,
not
but
world
they're
level
not
belts.
world level, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
At that moment in time, yeah. So you think it was premeditated then? You thought they just went in, they never had any intention of doing it, they just wanted to get all the hype and the exposure.
I think that they've got every intention of fighting him, but I think they're gonna waste as much time as possible and let
Wait
Gennady
for him to
get
slow down a bit.
get as old as possible, and then they'll take the fight, and then yeah, Eubank. The longer time goes on, the better chance Eubank's got of actually
Uh,
doing a work
Yeah,
job.
he's got a lot of potential, Eubank. I mean, he's got a lot of faults, but he's a very exciting fighter. And I would like to see him. I mean, I mean, we don't need to go into this sort of joke thing that's going on now on ITV pay-per-view, but yeah, I really would like to see him settle down um, and start, being a bit more serious with his career.
Yeah, I mean,
Right then,
just to add before we move on,
yeah,
obviously there's talks about after this IBO fight that no one's going to pay for happens. There's talks that he's possibly going to fight George Groves,
that's right.
even which I think is a brilliant fight.
Yeah,
I'll pay pay-per-view for that, and
that is a really good fight.
I think that's an amazing fight. Yeah, and I've heard a few things on a couple of boxing channels that there's even the possibility that he'd be fighting De Gale or something like that, because you can see it happening. I mean, that is a pay-per-view fight in the
That'd be
United
good.
Kingdom. I can't see it happening, but at the same time, financially, you could see how that they would make that work.
Yeah, I think De Gale doesn't. I mean, no one likes him, do they? But De Gale particularly doesn't like him.
Mm.
I think like George Groves against Eubank, that would be quite an entertaining build-up because they're both quite arrogant, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you could see them like both kind of being a bit, they're quite smug, the pair of them. So that would be quite an interesting build-up, and a fight would be very entertaining. But I'd rather see Groves against Eubank personally. I don't get me wrong, I wouldn't turn my nose up, but the Gale against Eubank. But if I could pick one, it'd be Groves Eubank. All right, well let's do the last one then, because obviously we'll take a bit of time here.
Yep.
Prospects of the year. Now this can be really, it depends how you want to take it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean someone who hasn't fought for a title yet. It just means someone who's kind of in the early stages of their career, and you think it has a very bright future. That's how I've interpreted it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, see, the person I picked for this isn't an early stage of their career, but they're at the stage where I really think that on a world level they're gonna personally, like, I think they're really going to impress. And this person is Callum Smith. I think
Callum Smith.
He's a well-rounded fighter.
Yep.
I don't understand how he makes super middleweight because he's so tall, but you can see
Yep.
how he almost looks like he kills himself to make the weight before every fight. But he's got good punching power. He's got good boxing skills. He's got everything that, in my eyes.
Good tight defence.
Yeah, good defence. Like he's got everything
Good
in his skill
attitude.
set to become a world champion.
Yeah.
So for me,
And all the Smith brothers, they're all like very tough, aren't they? You can tell that they're all got that fighting spirit in them.
certainly, and yeah, I think Callum Smith. I mean, I would if I was to pick, I think Callum Smith beats Badu Jack, and people can argue all day long. It might just be because I'm on the British side and I'm a bit biased. Like people can argue with me all day long about that, but James DeGale, I don't know. Like I think he hits really hard. I think he's going to beat Badu Jack when they fight. Personally, and I don't
I
know
think
whether it be points or knockout, but I think he's going to win. Like definitely.
if James DeGale is at his best and Badu Jack's at his best, I think James DeGale should beat him pretty handily.
Yeah.
Having said that, James DeGale, we've seen him underperform quite a few occasions, whereas Badu Jack, he's very solid, very professional. He looks like a difficult man to beat, even though he's not that flashy. I mean, I've seen a few of his fights. I saw him fight not Andre Dirrell, Anthony Dirrell. Saw him fight George Groves, Lucian Bute. I mean, to be honest, he could have lost both of those fights. I'm not saying he did, but they're all close fights that he's in. I mean, these are all decent opponents, but he's always in the fight. So even though James DeGale is, in terms of talent, seems to be quite a lot better, I can see it being a very close fight nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that point, definitely. I think DeGale makes it difficult for himself, especially when it comes down to the judges judging rounds. I think especially since now he's got a world title, I think he's less likely to kind of let his hands loose. I think he's definitely more careful, and I think his strength certainly lies in letting his hands loose, and he's got knockout power. That's one thing you give James DeGale. That's that is his.
Well, my prospect of the year that I like personally, I like Oscar Valdez. I mean, he's a world champion, isn't he? WBO featherweight champion.
Yeah.
But he's only had 21 fights, and he hasn't really fought any of the big names yet around there. He's fought some decent opponents. He's got that Gradovic, the bloke that Carl Frampton fought, Avalos, a couple of other people. But he looks to me really, really good, and he seems to be getting better all the time. Have you seen much of him?
I've only seen a little bit of him actually. To be fair, I won't lie. I don't follow the lighter divisions as much as I do kind of
no, me neither.
Like middleweight upwards. But I did see his fight against Sasawa, and I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed watching that. He looked impressive.
great body shots. To me, I think Oscar Valdez is going to be in that division as well. You got all the people around there like Frampton, Selby, Santa Cruz, Lomachenko is in the division. But do you know what I mean? Around there or thereabouts, there's a lot of big fights for him to be in. I think he's got that about him that he really wants to be in them. He's like a typical Mexican, like tough, or he will to win. But he's also got like a real sort of flair about him as well.
Yeah,
So
and
for me,
he's young as well. I think he's only he's like 25 or 26 or something, isn't he? So
yeah, I'm not sure.
he's
Yeah, I know I'm not sure exactly how old, but yeah, he's young.
he's got
I think he's had 21 fights.
yeah, he's got plenty to come without a doubt. So yeah, he's definitely one to watch. I totally agree with you. I can't say that I've been a huge follower of his though. I've seen a couple of his fights, but
Yeah.
he's someone that I'll certainly be looking into in future, and I'll probably look at a few more fights that he's had. Obviously,
Honourable
prior
mention
to this video.
before we go.
Yeah.
Honourable mention. Andrew Selby. I mean, he's like, I think he's flyweight. I never really used to watch flyweights, but have you seen any of him?
Andrew Selby.
Yeah.
Can't say I followed him at all. No.
Ah, mate, check him out. He's ridiculous. I've seen a couple of his fights. I mean, his movement is unbelievable. He literally kind of glides around, and he'll be like sort of throwing like a sort of 856 punch combination, like kind of switching stances about 8 times, cartwheeling round behind, forward rolling like through his opponent's legs, come back like dragon punch. Ridiculous, mate. Like he's had about 8 fights. He's not fighting like the best in the world, but I mean, how many flyweights are there? I mean, in the UK, there are very few.
Yeah.
So you'd think he's going to be progressing like pretty soon. And to me, he really does look like one to watch. If you get a chance, check him out. I mean, he's unreal.
I've actually, I won't even know. I haven't even, I hadn't heard of Andrew Selby prior to you.
It's Lee
saying
Selby's brother.
that. Is it actually?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I've just box wrecked him now. Funny
Yeah.
enough,
Check
on
him
the
out,
call.
mate.
Yeah.
Check him out. If anyone else watching this, if you haven't seen him, check him out.
He's-
Definitely, he is.
He's 7-0. But he looks like he's fought some fairly credible opponents. Like in terms of, when people obviously introduced to the professional game, they'll be fighting
Yeah.
journeymen up till their 10th fight, for example. And
Yeah.
you can look at
I
him.
think
I mean,
being a flyweight in the UK, there just aren't that many people who are that small.
yeah,
So in Europe in general, you know what I mean. So you're not gonna have that many options. You're probably gonna get matched a bit tougher than if you were a middleweight, super middleweight.
yeah.
But yeah. All right, mate. Well, should we leave it there then? Because we've gone through all the categories. I know you've got things to do.
Yep, I think we've done an hour. It's been a good chat.
Yeah.
I certainly think we've got more to come. I mean, I know we discussed in the past. We want to talk about Thurman Garcia. I think that is
Yeah.
worth a video on its own.
Yeah.
I've got a lot to say about Garcia, and I'm not gonna give any of my
Hold
opinions
back.
across. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna hold back, but no, I'm not gonna give my opinions across prior to that video.
No.
But yeah, certainly enjoyed
Give
going
people something to look forward to.
yeah, so definitely something to look forward to. I'd like to do that in the next week
Yeah,
if you're about at some point. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Um,
Mate.
but yeah, aside from that, I'm happy to wrap it up if you are. I think
Yeah.
our awards went fairly well. I think we agreed pretty much on most of them,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah, I'll contact all their agents and we'll get them sent over to them like in the next few days.
Yeah.
Sort of me and Sean have like signed some boxing gloves to send over to them. So yeah.
Right,
All right,
sounds
then, mate.
good.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Happy New Year to you, mate.
Indeed.
And we'll speak soon.
Yeah, no worries. Right, thank you very much for the video. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Take it
Right.
easy. Bye.